Better Call Saul exists in a morally gray universe. Characters rarely do the right thing, good people are almost non-existent, and that's exactly what makes Kim Wexler so fascinating. On the surface, she appears to be Jimmy McGill's moral compass, the voice of reason, the one who keeps him grounded when his worst impulses threaten to consume him. But look closer and you'll notice something unsettling. Kim doesn't just tolerate Jimmy's schemes, she enables them, she refines them, and eventually she starts creating them herself. There's no doubt Kim could carry her own series. There's even a strong argument that she's the most complex character in the entire Breaking Bad universe. But what truly separates her from other television characters is her morality, or rather the slow erosion of it. Because Kim is presented as a protagonist, we assume she's one of the good guys. But that's not how this works. Being a protagonist doesn't make someone a hero. The real question isn't whether Kim is good or bad, the question is why she acts the way she does. What's driving her choices? What darkness hides behind it? Better Call Saul refuses to give us easy answers, and so does Kim Wexler. We know almost nothing about Kim's past. Throughout 6 seasons, we're shown only 2 scenes from her childhood, but these moments explain everything that follows. In the first flashback, young Kim waits outside her school in freezing temperatures. Her mother finally arrives, clearly drunk, making excuses about getting held up at a bar. Kim takes one look at the car, one look at her mother, and makes a decision. She won't get in. Instead, she walks 3 miles home through the Nebraska cold with a cello strapped to her back. This scene establishes Kim's fierce independence. Her mother was unreliable, dangerous even. So Kim learned early that she could only depend on herself. She learned to clean up other people's messes, and despite being let down repeatedly, she never stopped hoping that bad people could change. But the second flashback reveals something far more troubling. Kim and her mother are in a store. The mother shoplifts earrings and slips them into Kim's pocket without asking for permission. When security catches them, the mother plays innocent. Young Kim gets caught for stealing. The mother walks away clean, and afterward, no apology, no lesson about right and wrong. The mother simply tells Kim to relax. They got away with it. She even lets Kim keep the earrings. Think about what this taught her. Her own mother used her as a fall guy, trained her to take the blame while maintaining plausible deniability. And when Kim went along with it, nothing bad happened. No punishment, no consequences, just a quiet lesson. In any con, someone takes the heat. Make sure it's never you.
You got away with it.
If her mother had set real boundaries, Kim's moral compass might have developed differently. Instead, she was left to figure out right and wrong entirely on her own. And as a result, she became comfortable around people who bend rules and break laws. This made her an excellent defense attorney, but it also made her dangerously susceptible to forming attachments with people of questionable character. People exactly like Jimmy McGill. At first, Kim and Jimmy's relationship seems purely professional, 2 lawyers helping each other succeed. Kim works her way up the ranks at HHM, while Jimmy struggles to be taken seriously by his own brother. As Jimmy's friend, Kim sees through his schemes. She recognizes the good intentions buried beneath the corner-cutting and rule-breaking. She doesn't approve, but she also doesn't stop him. Their dynamic becomes clear early on. Jimmy pushes boundaries, Kim reinforces them. When he calls late at night, she shuts down an inappropriate conversation. When he puts up a billboard impersonating Howard, she warns him he's playing with fire. When he fabricates evidence, she tells him she never wants to hear about anything like that again. She's training him, establishing consequences, trying to steer him toward legitimacy. If Jimmy had actually listened to her advice from the beginning, his life would have turned out very differently. But instead of Kim pulling Jimmy toward the light, Jimmy finds a way to activate her darkness. It happens at a hotel bar. They meet a stockbroker named Ken, arrogant, wealthy, an easy mark. Jimmy convinces a reluctant Kim to run a simple con. They pretend to be other people, manipulate Ken all night, then disappear. Watch Kim during this scene. Her initial hesitation melts away as the scheme progresses. By the end, she's laughing, celebrating, thriving on the deception. And notably, this is the night their romantic relationship truly begins. The show frames it as harmless fun. Ken can afford it, nobody got hurt, but strip away the justifications and you're left with fraud. Kim and Jimmy stole from someone through deception, not to help anyone else, but purely for their own entertainment. But now that she's participated once, something has been unlocked. A seed has been planted, and like any addiction, it will only grow stronger. Kim's involvement in Jimmy's schemes deepens gradually. When Jimmy commits forgery to help her land Mesa Verde as a client, she's furious. But she doesn't turn him in. She helps him cover his tracks. When Chuck exposes the truth, Kim attacks him viciously, deflecting all blame away from Jimmy despite knowing he's guilty. She tells herself she's protecting the man she loves. But there's more to it than that. Watch her face after each successful scheme. She enjoys the power, the superiority, the thrill of victory over opponents who never saw her coming. And her limits keep shifting. When Jimmy's associate Huel faces serious prison time, Kim initially refuses to help destroy a police officer's reputation. That's too far. But then she hears someone dismiss Jimmy as a scumbag disbarred lawyer, and something snaps.
And our only witness is a scumbag disbarred lawyer who peddles drop phones to criminals.
She doesn't just help, she designs an elaborate scheme herself. Fake letters from a fictional church community, a fraudulent website, an intimidation campaign against the DA's office. The plan works. Huel walks free, and Kim's response,
Let's do it again.
that single line reveals everything. Kim isn't reluctantly participating in Jimmy's world anymore. She's actively seeking out the rush. The con has become her drug of choice. Throughout the series, Kim tries to regulate Jimmy's behavior. He pushes for extremes. She reins him back. But it's attritional. When he pushes for 100, she only brings him to 80. He gains ground every time, and whenever he faces serious consequences, she bails him out. She lectures, she complains, but she never actually walks away. This is enabling, the same pattern her mother established by never imposing real boundaries. Except Jimmy doesn't know when to stop. So the cycle repeats, intensifying with each rotation, because he knows Kim will always stand by him no matter what he does. The real test comes when Jimmy's behavior crosses into genuinely dangerous territory. If Kim possessed true moral conviction, she would leave. Instead, she proposes marriage.
Maybe we get married?
Spousal privilege means that they can never be forced to testify against each other. On the surface, it's practical. Smart even, but it also signals approval. She's not just tolerating his choices anymore, she's becoming legally bound to them. She's fully complicit. There's a scene that perfectly illustrates who Kim has become. When Lalo Salamanca shows up at their apartment, demanding to know what really happened in the desert, Jimmy is terrified, visibly shaking, unable to form coherent sentences. He's facing a cartel killer who could murder them both without a second thought. Kim steps forward. She doesn't panic, she doesn't cower, she confronts Lalo directly, explaining spousal privilege, challenging his assumptions, and pointing out the flaws in his operation.
If you don't trust your men with your money, you have bigger problems than if you trust Saul Goodman.
Lalo appears genuinely impressed. This wasn't on his radar. This woman has steel he didn't expect. The obvious reading is that Kim is brave, loyal, and protecting the man she loves when he can't protect himself. But there's another layer. Kim isn't just surviving this encounter, she's demonstrating capability, showing what she can do under pressure and proving her value in a world where value determines survival. Mike later tells Jimmy that after everything with Howard, Kim is in the game now. The question is whether that was really her first time in the game, or whether she'd been playing all along with more subtlety than anyone noticed. Mesa Verde has been good to Kim. They stuck with her when she needed support. They trusted her completely. So when the bank tries to evict an elderly man named Acker from his home, you might understand Kim feeling conflicted. But her response goes far beyond professional disagreement. She secretly recruits Jimmy to represent Acker against her own client. She sabotages Mesa Verde from the inside. She betrays people who trusted her completely. She's paid to be their bodyguard. Instead, she's plotting their assassination. You could frame this as vigilant justice, fighting for the little guy against corporate greed, but that framing ignores the reality. Kim is not Robin Hood. She's not redistributing wealth to the poor. She is getting high on the deception itself. And then comes Howard. Howard Hamlin was never the villain Kim and Jimmy wanted him to be. Yes, he was privileged. Yes, he sometimes served as Chuck's puppet. Yes, he punished Kim for Jimmy's mistakes. These grievances are real. But what Kim and Jimmy do in response is something else entirely.
What if Howard does something terrible?
They spend months coordinating an elaborate campaign to destroy him. They plant evidence suggesting cocaine addiction, they hire a prostitute to humiliate him publicly, they gaslight and manipulate him in front of everyone involved in the Sandpiper case. They systematically demolish his reputation, his career, and his sense of reality. Howard was already struggling. Chuck's death haunted him. His marriage was falling apart, his business faced serious problems, and yet Kim prioritizes his destruction over actual career opportunities. She skips a meeting that could launch a project, helping hundreds of people, just to photograph fake evidence against Howard. These are not normal priorities. If you discovered two acquaintances had invested this much effort into systematically destroying your life, you wouldn't think they were merely bad people, you would think they were genuinely insane. Kim and Jimmy justify it as giving Howard a taste of unfair treatment, making him experience what it feels like to be targeted and dismissed. We're talking about a career setback for one lawyer. But career setback doesn't cover what actually happens. Their scheme puts Howard in the wrong place at the wrong time, and Lalo walks through the door. Suddenly, their game isn't fun anymore. When Howard confronts them in their apartment, demanding to know why they destroyed his life, Kim and Jimmy have no answer. There's no rational explanation. They didn't do it for money, and they didn't do it from hatred. They didn't even do it for professional advantage. They did it because they enjoyed it. Because conning people gave them a high nothing else could match. Because somewhere along the way, the thrill became more important than the consequences. Howard looks at Kim and delivers his verdict.
You're perfect for each other. You have a piece missing.
On the surface, he is referring to a chess metaphor, but the deeper meaning is unmistakable. He's describing Kim herself. Something fundamental is absent from her moral architecture. Some essential piece of conscience that should prevent a person from systematically destroying an innocent man for entertainment. Howard names the truth out loud. Seconds later, Lalo puts a bullet in his head, and Kim Wexler is responsible. She pushed this scheme forward when Jimmy hesitated. She insisted on continuing when opportunities to stop presented themselves. Howard died because of something she set in motion. Jimmy was born into a life of schemes, but Kim chose it. She chose to ruin Howard, and her choice got him killed. The aftermath breaks something in Kim. She lies to police, she lies at Howard's memorial, she lies to his widow, allowing everyone to believe Howard died as a drug addict rather than a victim of her scheming. But she can't lie to herself anymore.
I have had the time of my life with you. We are bad for everyone around us. Other people suffer because of us.
Kim finally sees their relationship clearly. They scheme for fun, they sabotage for entertainment, and while they enjoyed themselves, they ruined innocent lives. Their partnership is poison to everyone it touches. Kim isn't pure evil, but she does contain evil. Hidden beneath competence and charm and pro bono work, something darker has always existed. She didn't mean for Howard to die, but she absolutely meant to destroy him. So Kim runs. She surrenders her law license.
I gave notice to the bar 2 hours ago.
She divorces Jimmy, she abandons everything that made her who she was, and disappears to Florida. For 6 years, she hides, working at a sprinkler company, dates a bland man she doesn't love, eats food she doesn't enjoy, watches television that doesn't interest her. She has voluntarily stripped away her personality, terrified that if she allows herself to be Kim Wexler again, she'll hurt someone else. For someone who once dreamed of escaping her small hometown and building something meaningful, this hollow existence might be worse than prison. For 6 years, Kim Wexler is dead. Then Jimmy calls. He's on the run, arrogant, bragging about survival, mocking her boring Florida life. And Kim says 3 words that change everything.
You should turn yourself in.
She hasn't turned herself in. She's been hiding for 6 years, but something about hearing Jimmy's voice, recognizing what he's become, finally pushes her past the paralysis of guilt. Kim returns to Albuquerque. She confesses everything to Howard's widow, she writes a detailed account of her crimes, and gives Cheryl permission to do whatever she wants with it. For the first time, she faces consequences on terms she didn't control. When Jimmy learns about Kim's confession, it transforms him. He's negotiated his sentence down to 7 years. Easy time. Ice cream privileges. But knowing Kim told the truth makes that deal feel worthless. Jimmy has spent his entire life doing anything for Kim, so he throws away the plea bargain, takes the stand, accepts responsibility for everything. Not because it's strategically smart, but because he needs to look Kim in the eye, knowing he finally did the right thing. He gets 86 years. They share one last cigarette in the prison yard. Illegal, but this is Kim and Jimmy. They can't resist one final small rebellion. As Kim leaves, Jimmy shoots her his signature finger guns. Kim doesn't return the gesture. The production team actually filmed a version where she does, but cut it. It looked too much like Kim was back in the game. Maybe she is, maybe she isn't. The show refuses to answer. Where does Kim Wexler stand when the credits roll? She's clearly less guilty than Jimmy, who went on to enable a drug empire, but she's more easily corrupted than Skylar White, who resisted longer before compromising. She's not a standard upstanding citizen either. She's trustworthy only as long as you're useful to her or haven't crossed her, but she does have limits. If she were truly without conscience, she would have stayed with Jimmy through Breaking Bad, continuing to justify and manipulate and cover up. Instead, the moment someone she cared about got hurt, she dismantled her entire life and started over from nothing. The uncomfortable truth is that Kim chose to get in the car, and there were moments when she was driving while Jimmy told her to slow down. Make no mistake, neither Kim nor Jimmy redeemed themselves. They can never undo what they did. They poisoned so much, destroyed so much, and they ruined so much. The finale isn't redemption. It's acceptance. Accepting what they did. Accepting what it costed them. Accepting that some damage can never be repaired. Kim will carry her hidden evil forever. It will always be a part of her. We watched its effects across 6 seasons of television. She gets credit for stopping before the spiral consumed everything, but most people would never have let it go that far in the first place. Kim was never taught real boundaries. She made up morality as she went along, and she followed her confused compass until reality finally hammered home that actions have consequences. The closer you fly to the sun, the further you have to fall. Kim Wexler is one of the greatest characters in television history precisely because she's impossible to categorize. Not a hero, not a villain, not purely good, not entirely evil, just deeply, tragically human. We root for her despite everything. Despite the enabling, despite the schemes, despite Howard, and maybe that says something uncomfortable about us. Nevertheless, Kim Wexler remains Better Call Saul's hidden evil, the darkness we didn't see coming, the architect of destruction who walked away while others paid the price. The question was never whether she was guilty, the question is whether she was running things all along. Watch the show again. Pay attention to who proposes each scheme. Notice who pushes for escalation when the other hesitates. Track who benefits from every situation and who faces consequences. The Huel scheme, Kim's idea. Sabotaging Mesa Verde, Kim's idea. Destroying Howard Hamlin, Kim's idea. Marriage for spousal privilege, Kim's idea. Jimmy executes, Kim designs. Jimmy gets caught, Kim walks away. Someone always takes the fall, just like her mother taught her, and it's never Kim.